Hello, my name is Adrian Argile, Regional Minister Team Leader for the Heart of England Baptist Association. We're now 2.5 months into the coronavirus lockdown, and it's evident that it's going to take a long time to get back into anything resembling normality. But it's most likely that things will be forever different. Each week that's the Heba team, aim to post a devotional, and today I want to focus on encountering Jesus. I wonder if you have ever been nervous about doing something. Maybe you've got to pass on some bad news at work. We didn't get the order processed in time, and because of this the company cancelled. You expect a negative reaction. Possibly you're not sure what reaction you'll get. Can you recall that as a child knocking on your neighbour's door asking for your ball back for the umpteenth time? You're expecting a negative reaction. I'm sure we've all been in similar situations. It seems to me that some people approach God a little like this, fearful and not sure of the reaction they're expecting. Our story today from the scriptures takes us into Mark and chapter 5, and it's the woman who's been taken up with an illness. Let me read some verses of scripture from verse 24. A large crowd followed and pressed around him, and a woman was there who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years. She had suffered a great deal under the care of many doctors and had spent all she had, yet instead of getting better, she grew worse. When she heard about Jesus, she came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak, because she thought, if I just touch his clothes, I will be healed. Immediately her bleeding stopped, and she felt in her body that she was freed from her suffering. At once Jesus realized that power had gone from him. He turned around in the crowd and asked, "Who touched my clothes?" "You see the crowd against you," his disciples answered, "and yet you can ask, 'Who touched me?'" But Jesus kept looking around to see who had done it. Then the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came and fell at his feet, and trembling with fear told the whole truth. He said to her, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering." This illness had engulfed this particular lady's life. It's an illness that is unknown, but there are a few things that we do know. The first thing the Bible's told us here is that it was a painful illness. She had suffered a great deal under the care of many doctors. There was pain physically, and I'm sure emotionally, and possibly left some internal scars. It was long-standing, 12 years. That's a long time to be in pain. It was costly. We read that she spent all the money she had, and she appears to be on her own. Her bleeding would have meant she was ceremonially unclean and consequently cut off from the synagogue and any religious observance. The illness had also been aggravated. The care of the doctors in this instance hasn't been fantastic, and instead of getting better, we're told that her condition got worse. So she was desperate. The illness had engulfed her life. She'd chased after the doctors, she'd spent all her money, and this illness was beginning to eat away inside her. Painful, long-standing, costly, aggravated. I wonder, is there something that's eating away at us? Obviously, the main issue at the moment is lockdown, and that's created huge problems for many people. Work is difficult each day. or possibly a lack of work, concern for our parents and our children and loved ones, and maybe even the direction we're going in our life. How desperate are we for God to work in us or in the situation we've got in mind? This woman had tried all the avenues she could think of. She spent all the money she had. Her life was engulfed. She had nowhere to turn. And almost as a last resort, she came to Jesus. I wonder if we've run out of places to go. Are we at a loss as to what to do? This lady turned to Jesus. But let me say to you today that it's okay to go to Jesus first. We don't have to go as a last resort to him. We don't have to be that desperate. But we also note in the scriptures that Jesus gave immediately and freely. She thought, if I just touch his clothes, I will be healed. She made up her mind to sneak up on Jesus and touch him. There's no one else involved. Notice what happened next. She was instantly and immediately healed. It was freely given by God. It was a gracious and loving act. Today I want you to grasp and understand something of the character of God. What sort of person is God? Well, the psalmist, Psalm 103, tells us the Lord is compassionate and gracious, slow to anger, abounding in love. God is quick to give, to bless. He's quick to find ways to help and encourage. He's quick to pour himself out on us. Paul, when he writes to the church at Ephesus, says, "Now to him, that is to God, who is able to do immeasurably more than all we can ask or imagine, according to his power that is at work within us." So do you get the picture of God? He's not a miser. He's not a reluctant giver. He's not Mr. Scrooge, but he's compassionate, gracious, abounding in love. God's ready to give and to pour out himself upon us. Lockdown's been very difficult for many people. The sickness and the pain, the loss of loved ones, possibly reduced salary, made redundant, and no income. Whatever it may be, let us not be slow in coming to God. The lady wondered what reception she may get, and she went away blessed. So whatever our concerns or worries you may have today, release them to God. Experience his compassion. Be enveloped in his love and know his gracious intervention. I pray that God would bless you richly. Thank you.